can't just go put up a TV ad and expect to sell product.
Right.
Today, you need to get into the consumer's heart. And that's something that we at Midday Squares put that in our DNA at the beginning, was tell a story that emotionally connects, build that relationship so when they go to the grocery store, they don't feel like they're buying a chocolate bar or a commodity. They feel like they're buying something from a friend.
Well, first of all, the colors match with us, the black and white, so we're all good. But also, yeah, like you're in so much content. You're on social. People are taking pictures of you. Why not be a walking billboard? Right?
So you literally just kicked it. People take a lot of pictures. So after I speak a lot of time, like we have some of our fans or new people that don't even know us want to take a picture. So you're right. It's free marketing. If they don't know my name, let's say they don't know Jake Karls, great. They're probably not going to, but they see this, they're going to consistently see these logos. I'm like, oh shit, I just saw it at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I want to buy that now. So I always tell people, like, just take merchandising that you currently buy yourself, whether it's like a Zara or like whatever stores you go to, and then just print on it. Because then you're whatever. Shout out to Zara if they like their clothing, but who cares? You're wearing your logo, and people are like, yeah, it's pretty swaggy, it's pretty nice. And I'll never forget when I go through customs in Canada or customs in the United States, I always get recognized from the customs agents. Like, oh my partner eats that. You guys are rock stars. I could probably roll down with Rolexes down the thing and they wouldn't even know, you know?
Love that.
And like even my dad was stopped by the police for like a traffic ticket or something. And their guy's like, oh, Midday Squares. And he's like, that's my kids. And he's like, I didn't give him the ticket. So you never know. You wear your logo, be proud of it. And if you're not, then maybe you shouldn't be in the business that you're doing.
There you go. So we're pumped to have you here. Obviously, you're here at Creator Club in Toronto. Welcome to Toronto. We first met in Toronto back in November. You were speaking at the Peak Bet on Canada Summit, which was awesome. And then a couple of days ago, you were at the Founders Dinner. So you get out a lot to events. I'm going to ask you a little bit about your speaking as well. But I wanted to start off with a bit of the background. So I think I heard you talk about how you had three businesses, a couple you considered to be a failure, and you closed one of your businesses because you weren't passionate about it. So talk to us about why passion is so important for founders.
Well, my background is I studied to be an actuary, and I did that to make my parents proud. It wasn't because I wanted to. I don't even know how to do any actuarial stuff now. But what was unique about it was I was watching Shark Tank one day or Dragon's Den for Canadians, and I literally remember watching this individual on screen, and he was so passionate. He was so like diehard for what he was doing. His passion was contagious. The energy was contagious through the screen. And I was like, I need what that guy has. I don't know what that is. He had 2 mortgages on his house. He had 3 kids. He was older. I had no responsibilities. I was 22 or 21 with no job on my parents' couch, sulking like a baby. And I looked at him and I was like, that's what's next. And I started to look, what is my passion? And at the time, fitness was really something I cared about. I was doing it 6 times a week. I was obsessed with going to the gym. All I talked about with friends was fitness. So I was like, why don't I just create a business on that? And then it became not so much work. It was more fun and play, but yet I was working so hard. And the business actually was successful financially, but I closed it because I lost the passion. Once I lost the passion, it became a chore. It became something I didn't enjoy doing anymore. It became something that I started to look at as, oh, I'll cancel that client. Oh, I'm going to cancel that one. And in that moment, I realized this can't be the rest of my life. This can't. And that was the moment I kind of had with the Shark Tank moment. It was like, I need a change. And that's when I launched my second business, which was I was inspired by partying and having fun with people. Like I wanted to be around people all the time in groups. So I launched a company called Chase and Hunter, and that was like kind of clothing, throwing parties on college campuses, telling the stories of students. Long story, it didn't have a proper business model. It completely failed, went bankrupt, lost $80,000+. But I had passion, and I kept having the passion. That's what kept me going. Now, here's the problem with passion. If you let passion get in the way, it can be damaging too. It could keep you doing something that should be closing. And I knew I had to close my business because it wasn't going anywhere. But I still had passion for what I was doing. So I realized that the passion's strong, but sometimes you got to say to yourself, okay, it's time to move on. And you got to know when to put that bat down. And that's what makes great entrepreneurs in the world, because they know when to stop, even if their passion's pushing them more and more and more.
I love that. That's something that a lot of founders I don't think about at all. Okay, so retail. I want to talk about that because a lot changed since the pandemic, and now we have the whole inflation situation going on. So you're an e-commerce company, right? You started in e-commerce, I'm assuming, and I want to know, what's that journey for when you first got into retail?
Dude, when we started, we were 100% retail. So 100% e-commerce. We were selling a sample pack on our website for 25 cents a bar. Now they're $2.49 a bar. So big difference.
Yeah.
And you were able to get one bar in the mail. We would hand deliver it. So we were totally like personalized e-com company. And we knew that retail in the end was going to be the volume, because in grocery, that's a lot of volume. When you talk Costco, Loblaws, Walmart, Target, there's massive amounts of product going through those doors. The problem is winning in those accounts is extremely, extremely difficult. Getting in is hard, but staying in is almost impossible. It's nearly impossible. You need a ton of capital, you need a ton of momentum, you need a ton of marketing.
Yep.
So we realized retail was strong as soon as we started taking on little accounts like bagel shops, juice bars in local Montreal. We start to see the rhythm and the movement of volume going, and we're like, hey, there's a business here. Now, when you do retail and grocery and food, you need distributors, you need brokers. So if you don't price your product properly with that in mind, 30 points that's going to be taken just from that, you'll be in trouble when you go and you don't have that price. We knew from past companies, and this is where mentors come into effect, is they told us, make sure your pricing is backed in with the distributor and the broker model put in place. Over scale, you can get that out. It's just at the beginning, between 0 to 100 million, you're going to need to have a broker and a distributor. So I think that was something that we knew. And as we went into retail, it started to slowly pick up, momentum. Pandemic hit, got smoked. Retail fell off the cliff 70%. Yeah. We were in trouble. What did we do? We flipped to e-com. We flipped back to the e-com. It turned into like 60% of our business. Now we're a 75-25 business, retail to D2C, and we want to stay at that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's actually shifted towards more. Retail. I've seen it in retail. I always love to see it, especially when I'm just in a random grocery store, convenience store. It's very cool to see it here in Toronto. But I personally started buying the products online through your website, through e-com, got on the mailing list, and that's what reminded me to like reorder, right? But when you're in retail, if it becomes part of your shopping routine, it's like this grab and go situation, right? Where you can be there on demand as well. So I love that I have both options now, which is great. And congrats for all the distribution. I know it's not easy. You also, I've seen videos of you like personally going to stores to check things out. What's that like as a founder to kind of like go see your product in big box stores?
Well, two things. The feeling is cool. It's a dream come true. When I go to Target in the US and I see our lineup of product and people going to buy it in the moment, that is the most crazy experience. It's a dream come true. It's not easy to accomplish that. But here's the problem. When you build a company and you're in 4,000 or 5,000 stores, you can't go to every single store. It's impossible to build relationships with every single manager, every buyer, every HQ. So what I do is I try to find those people that are around that I go and I stop in. I don't just stop in to look and take a picture of the product. I go and I meet the cashiers, the store staff, the store manager, and I build a relationship, because if you build a genuine relationship, they're going to take care of you. When you can't come in every week or every 2 weeks and you're only there once every 3 months, they're going to look after your product. And when customers are looking for product, they're going to refer it to them. And here's the hack. If you're in grocery, if you're in retail and food and beverage, there's one small situation that you could win big with. Go out there and make friends with everyone on the ground. You know why? They're in the stores for 8 hours a day. They need to eat and drink products so they can buy your product.
They themselves can
exactly.
buy it. Right,
so get them to believe in your brand and do it genuinely. I think a lot of people, they ask for too much. It's like when I go in, I don't ask for anything. I go and I ask for your time to build a friendship with you. And if I build that friendship, I know for a fact that you will take care of Midday Squares because you like me as a person. We're friends. When friends are friends, you do things for friends. You want to be with them. You want to help them. You want to introduce them to this VC. You want to introduce them to this new date that they might go on, So I try to build that model into retail, and it's actually working.
I love that. It's like Gary Vee talks about doing things that are not scalable, right? And I feel like that's one of those things. It's not scalable to build those relationships, but you have done it, and over time it spreads, and you kind of see the impact of that.
My head of sales, shout out to Alex Trin. He's a superstar. He's an engineer, data-driven guy. But he says to me all the time, he's like, how can we replicate 700 Jakes? And I was like, babe, there's no such thing as replicating Jake. So doing those unscalable things are really important because it really builds something special. And when you have that special thing, that ability to hit the heart of somebody, they're going to do a lot more. Same thing goes with investors. Same thing goes with media and journalists. Same thing goes with hiring people.
Yeah.
Build friends first. Make friends first, then do business. And I promise you the return on investment will be something way larger, way greater than going in first to ask for a transaction.
Makes sense. I think Mark and I can relate to that. Building friends first, then do business, right? Like the story Mark is, you can tell a little bit of the story of King Street Media, how you basically knew, like you guys were friends, you grew up together.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was like, it wasn't even a decision to get into marketing. It was more of a decision to like start something and build a community with somebody that like I knew and loved. And this was one of my oldest friends, Anthony. I don't know if you've met him. We knew each other since we were like 12 years old, and he was in finance. I was in experiential marketing. Both of us found like opportunities within this new thing, social media, but we very much understood right away. It's like, there's a community component here that people are craving and loving. Like, how can we start this? How can we move?
Community, if you don't have community, and you're so right, Mark, you're done. Today's world with social media, consumers today are looking for entertainment and added value, emotional connections, emotions that brands create with them. You're not going to buy necessarily just commodities anymore. So you can't just go put a billboard ad up. You can't just go put up a TV ad and expect to sell product.
Right.
Today, you need to get into the consumer's heart. And that's something that we at Midday Squares put that in our DNA at the beginning, was tell a story that emotionally connects, build that relationship. So when they go to the grocery store, they don't feel like they're buying a chocolate bar or a commodity. They feel like they're buying something from a friend, a family member, a neighbor. That is what community does.
Right.
Community builds something special where you could all relate to something. So if you're a brand today, or you're a large corporation today, you must figure out how to build community authentically, because if you don't have a long time in business left, because otherwise people are going to start to move to other products that connect to them more.
Right, exactly. It's not just transactional. It's not just product based. I think when you build a community, when you look at what your brand stands for, your brand isn't simply your product, right? It stands for a lifestyle. So with you guys, there's a lot of stuff about health and wellness, productivity, the entrepreneurship, the hustle. You work out, you post like crazy about, your fitness journey. Your community relates to that. They feel part of that. They can't just be connected on a single product. So I wanted to ask you, I heard you earlier talking about how you consider your community your fans, right? You may consider your clients and customers your fans. What do you want to tell founders who are looking to build a community of fans as opposed to just followers that are customers?
Two things: tell a great story and be authentic. Those two things will build you fans, because at the end of the day, fans are like, I like looking as musicians. Musicians go on tour, they sell records, right? And then they go on tour and they actually have concerts. The way a fan can either support it is to either buy the ticket to go to the concert, or buy the merchandise, or listen to their music on Spotify, right? Or one of those apps. So we're doing the same exact thing, but we're not selling records. We're selling a chocolate bar. We're treating everything like a boy or a girl band. We're trying to build that fandom. So when they go, they could support us via buying the product at a grocery store for $2.49, or on our website, they could buy a box, or they tell their family and friends, I love this brand so much, go buy them. They're always available. So I think that that's what our strategy is so different than a lot of CPG brands, is we're trying to play the more of the entertainment world meets CPG rather than CPG meets CPG. Got
it. That will take us into talking a little bit about content, because obviously entertainment's a big thing. So you guys have done a $65,000 music video, diss track targeted against Hershey's. Your topics on your social include everything from depression to self-love to you getting injured, for example, to family and relationships, which is not typical for majority of businesses, whether you're a small business or a huge business. So we love that you're setting an example. We've used Midday Squares as an example with some of our clients and community members. How did you get started in this strategy, this content strategy of being so authentic and sharing all of that?
Great. When we started, my partners were like, we have this chocolate bar, amazing chocolate bar, ready to go, but we need you to come in and be our third partner to blow it up. So I said to them, the food space is completely commodity and price driven. It's not driven on emotional connection, yet we intimately eat the products and put them in our body. So I looked at the fashion world, and I looked at companies like Nike, and I looked at what was successful about them, and storytelling was something really big. Yes, they have good products, but at the end of the day, Phil Knight and his team, they built an underdog story. They always bet on the underdog, all odds against whoever they were betting on, and it was a great story. Jordan, all these Tiger Woods, all these people. Yep. Now, I looked at that, and then I looked at the cosmetic world, and I saw consumers go to stores like Sephora, and they would freak out for the brands. They would be like so excited, so hyped, they knew so much about him. And I looked at why, like Glossier, they tell a story. They tell a powerful story that relates to people. So I said to my partners, why don't we tell a story? And they're like, well, what kind of story are we going to tell with a chocolate bar? I said, why don't we take family drama meets entrepreneurship meets unapologetic boldness? And what that meant was basically creating a reality show showing the good, the bad, the ugly of how we build this business. That way, we'll never have to promote the product. All we have to do is show the drama, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it will relate. And when you have that relatability, it then builds trust. And when you have trust, you can then actually sell product to people because they're listening and they want to understand what's going on. They want to listen. They want to know what's next, right? So I'll never forget, I said to them, we're going to film everything. We're just going to start documenting this journey, showing milestones, breakdowns, therapy, crying, fighting, everything that you see everything you go through in daily life, I wanted to show. And we use social media as the vehicle. And next thing you know, 5 views, 20 views, 1,000 views, 10,000 views, 100,000 views, millions of views. And next thing you know, the stores are being cleared, the shelves are being cleared because consumers are like, shit, this is like a drama series. And I feel attached to the brand and part of the journey. And now I want to support.
Yeah. And I would say that also when you do actually have real drama, like such as the whole thing where you change the size of your packaging and there was this issue with the labeling and the barcodes and all that, your community does want to come in and actually support, right? Yep. When you have new flavors coming out, people are lining up waiting for those because they follow that journey along. I remember waiting for like cookie dough to come out for like months, and like first of all, it was like this whole thing of what is the next flavor going to be, right? So you build that anticipation, and those people are really getting involved in your story, which I love.
Yeah, dude, you got to get people excited. You can't just give them boring stuff. I can't just tell you it's a vegan, gluten-free, delicious dark chocolate bar that has protein and fiber. Yeah, that doesn't even relate. Who cares? Like, there's thousands of products that are delicious out there. What's different is if I make you feel something deeply, you're like, yeah, fuck, I like Jake. I like his team. I'm going to support. I see it. I'm at the grocery store, the Metro down the street, and I see it. Yeah, I'm going to grab 2. Why not? And guess what? That happens every time. And then you become consistent, and we become a moment in your day. Right. And then our entertainment factor becomes another moment in your day. You're like, yeah, like they're bold as shit and they don't give a flying fuck. And that mentality is inspiring to some people. And being yourself and authentically yourself, even if you don't like what we're doing, you'll respect it because you're like, yeah, these people are genuinely being themselves and they're whacked out of their mind, but it's real. And that realness is something that the world's missing.
So with all that realness, I have to ask, has there been any backlash or negative feedback at all for some of your content? I'd love to know, and then how you kind of deal with that.
Oh, 100%. We have trolls all the time that say mean things. They call us names. They make fun of. They don't believe in. And yeah, the more bold you are, the more people are going to come at you. And the reason why, or the more confident you are, the more people will come at you because they don't like it. And a lot of the time, it's not a you problem. It's the person's problem. So when I first had trolls at the beginning, I used to say, like, get sad and I'd get hurt by what they'd say. And I'd be like, this is so bad. Like the backlash was I'd be like, should we continue to do this? We should stop maybe. And then I started to look at it as like, it's not a me thing. They're not actually mad at me. They're themselves are having some insecurities. Because a lot of time I'd engage with them, I'd talk to them, and then they would say, like, I just had a bad day and I took it out on you guys. And, sometimes there's bullies, and those bullies will always be bullies. But a lot of the majority of people are just sometimes feeling a little insecure. And if you could actually help, why not? So, yeah, some shit gets backlash, and we've accepted the fate of that, and wherever that goes. But I find the more bold we go, the better it is. The more we build a true fan base rather than just a let's please everybody, because that doesn't work.
Yeah, you speak more to those true fans, and eventually you can drown out the noise. I love that. Speaking of content, the last thing I'll ask you about that is you guys have, I believe, you have your own podcast, which we know. We're here at CreatorClub, which is a podcast studio in Toronto. We're going to be we love telling entrepreneur stories, right? That's our whole thing. And I love that you guys are doing it yourself. So kudos to that. But secondly, do you guys have your own podcast studio at your office?
Yeah, but I destroyed it. I made it my temporary stretching / when I was injured. And you know what? We know how hard it is to make a podcast, the resources, the editing, the time it takes. And so we put a bit of a pause on it. That being said, it was really powerful podcast for our industry. Like, it was getting a lot of our buyers listening and getting to the mind of how we think. So it was actually a really interesting thing. We just get around a round table. We had a whole studio built. We would fire it up, every Tuesday morning at like 8 a.m, come in so hot, yell at each other, have some fun. But we're going to hopefully bring that back. And I think that I like to tell people that Midday Squares is 2 companies under one roof. It's a chocolate manufacturer, because we own our manufacturing,
right, and
it's a media company.
Right.
We do both. They're under the same roof, but it's the same thing. Most companies either do a media, just generally media, or they do the product making or whatever they're doing, right? So it's really hard what we're trying to do, but at the end of the day, if we get it right, we'll hit it really big. If we don't, it'll be a nice story to tell after anyways.
For sure. Lots of learnings from that. We're actually going to be talking at Creator Club. We do events, right? And we're going to be talking about that. There's a founder who's coming in who's built, he's had grown millions of followers and his business has become the content, right? TikTok and Instagram, building these media platforms. He was able to his company was acquired to another larger media platform as well. And it's really about that whole separate business line is you should turn your company into a media company. We've heard advice from a lot of leaders saying this. You guys are definitely like a living example of it, which I love. Want to switch gears to advice. So we'll ask a couple things, obviously some on the marketing front as well. How do you maintain your energy levels?
Oh, caffeine, as you could see, we're in the caffeine. Now, caffeine's an unhealthy way to do it, but no, you know what it is? It's when I'm with people, I get fired up. When I'm not, I actually get low energy. But the problem is when I'm with people, I give a lot of energy. So I actually give to people. So I go out there, I do a ton of speaking. I do a ton of exciting stuff with our community. Even today, we have a trade show. I was there for 2 hours before this, giving that energy.
Right.
Wow. But I realized that that's my purpose. My purpose is to go spread good energy around the world, good vibes, to show people that also you could win by being yourself. So if I could be an example of that by breaking the rules, taking legal battles differently, raising money in a very unique way, and doing that, then I could show people that they could take that step of boldness. They could be themselves and actually win and be rewarded for that. And I think that a lot of the time in society, we aren't rewarded for that. We're rewarded to follow the rules or follow the square box, the narrow box of living.
In line.
Yeah, and I was in that path, man. Till I was 22, and I was scared shitless. But now I see how much more there is out there when you start to play the game a little differently. And when you understand that, it's a life learning forever, right? So like I can't go back. And it's not to say you can't go work for somebody and be yourself, by the way. I'm totally for, if you want to go work at a company, you could crush it. And you could crush it, but you better be yourself and not be scared to have your creative mind go free. Don't be scared by the corporate ladder or the handcuffs that sometimes they put on the creativity. If they do that, then walk away. Because you need your brain freely thinking. You are usually amazing when you are yourself. When you are not yourself, you are definitely not being your best version. It's impossible.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of companies discourage that, like you said. And at our team, Mark, I don't know if you want to speak about that, how we embrace that at our agency, right?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to for us is people mistake culture, building a company culture with like tactics. And when instead you hire for like aligned values and people that are looking for the same things in their life and want to grow to the same similar places, then you end up just naturally developing a much better culture. So I actually wanted to stay on that vein and ask you, like, what's it been like building a team for you specifically, especially with the amount of energy that you bring, and I'm sure what you expect out of the people that you work with?
Oh, team is the hardest thing. So manufacturing, has been the hardest thing. Okay. Building our manufacturing plant and actually scaling that has been really difficult because no one's done it in our field. And our product's a unique custom product, right?
Right.
That's number one. Number two is the talent, bringing in talent and retaining talent. We live in Montreal, great city, beautiful, great food, great nightlife. But opportunity-wise, it's not the greatest city for talent. You have two languages. Not everyone speaks French, so it makes it a lot harder to bring in the talent. And then keeping the culture fun and something that inspires our team to want to take over the world with us. Like we have a massive global vision of being the next big Hershey's or the next big chocolate company, let's call it, in the better for you space. And getting people to believe in that and want to be part of that and work really, really hard has been really tough because we come in with a lot of energy, of boldness. Cameras are rolling 24/7, so everything's on camera. So it's not for everybody. And we say we actually have a lot of turnover, one of the highest. And I think that's something that, we're not disappointed with because finding the right talent is difficult. So when you find it, you must keep it. And it's like when there's something wrong in the environment, when someone's in there that's not great, if you don't catch it right away and get rid of that person or have that person leave, it can cause cancer in the environment. Right. I don't mean real cancer. I mean spreads like, wildfire of negativity.
Totally.
And that could disrupt the whole company. So for us, the way we do it is we're just really authentic. We're really transparent. This isn't for everyone. And we try to find right away if it's the right fit or not the right fit. And we try to hire with the greatest ability to follow our gut, but also get the skill sets we need.
I love that. Yeah, that's an awesome question, Mark. And I see you feature your team. Obviously, you got someone right
Trev
here.
in the house. Woo!
He's here with a camera, filming right now as well. But I've seen some videos where it's like where you're telling the story and you show the office, and it's just like you guys, the three of you, like bringing the energy up with your staff and getting them involved. And if they're not in for that, you don't want them to be there if they're not going to be passionate.
It just won't fit, and like there's something else for them, and nothing against it, no judgment.
Yeah,
it's just this environment might not be for you, and that's okay. It's not for everybody, and we've had amazing talented people had to leave because they're like, I just can't be part of this. Like it's too whacked out. But so far, I think the make or break of Midday Squares will be based on, can we get the right talent in and retain that talent? Otherwise, the company will struggle to scale even further and further and further.
From a scalability standpoint, for sure. Okay, so for other founders and entrepreneurs out there, what is one thing you would tell a founder who is just getting into launching their own product-based company?
One thing, block out the noise. There is a lot of fucking noise out there, and it's sometimes a lot of the time from close people to you in your corner, people that love you, care about you, and have the best interest for you. But not everyone's running your business. So if you listen to everything from, let's say it's your parents, your friends, your best friends, your cousins, whatever it is, your past colleagues, there's so much noise on how to run things that you eventually have analysis paralysis and you start to get confused. Stay true to your gut. Build the muscle in your gut to be very, very strong. Once that's strong enough, trust it. Trust it and release it. You can still listen to people, but make sure to be very careful and cautious how you take that advice, because at the beginning, I'll never forget, everyone told us two things. This isn't going to work. Love you, but it's not going to work. Or here's how you should do it. If we would have listened to any of those, we wouldn't be here today. So I'm lucky I have great partners. The three of us stayed very tight. We trusted each other to the highest level, and we just kept the bubble. And that bubble was, we blocked out all the noise and we created the noise together.
I love that. That's so huge. Okay. Next thing we'll dive into is talking about the financial side of it, which is inevitable when you're trying to scale like you are. You recently raised $10 million US round. And what I loved about that is you shared the journey with us. I saw on your Instagram and on Midday Square's Instagram, you guys pounding the pavement, doing pitches, right? I don't know how many months that round lasted for. Tell us about the process for raising money, and especially for entrepreneurs who are embarking on it themselves.
Yeah, dude, we're not everyone needs to raise money. First of all, we're trying to do a rocket ship growth in terms of food and beverage, scaling quickly, like growing 50 to 100% year over year. Like it's hard. So we're on a treadmill. When you take venture money, you're on a treadmill and you can't just stop the treadmill. So be careful. But the way we raise money is build out loud. So because we share everything on social, on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, soon to be YouTube, people see it. People see our energy. They see the vibe. They either like it or they don't. Right. And a lot of the time, the investors are looking at that stuff and saying, hey, this company's really unique. This is interesting. Who are they? Why are they so out there all the time? This is interesting, curious. And so I do it consistently. And then the last thing you need is obviously numbers and a model that makes sense. So if you don't have that, don't go out and raise money because it won't work. But because of building out loud, I've been able to get in touch with almost anyone in the world, any fund, every private equity, any venture fund, any family office, or even government organization, because they've already seen the stuff. And when they've seen it, it's a warm introduction rather than a cold introduction. And what I do is I call it milk runs. I get on a plane, I go to New York, I go to Toronto, I go to California, I go to Texas, I go to wherever the investors are, and I show up and I say, I'm in New York City, are we meeting? And when I get to those meetings, they say, yeah, like, we love your brand, we've seen it, we tried it, we love it, let's talk. When I go there, I don't ask for anything. All I want to do is make a friend. And when I do that, we kick it really deeply. And when the time's right, I say, hey, do you want me to let you know when we're raising money? And this will be months before. So when the time is when we do raise money, I already have the relationship with all these funds. So then all I do is I say to my finance team, these are the 100 funds, let's call it. Let's narrow it down to 10. Who do you want? So then they narrowed it down, and then I say, hey, let's set up these deep meetings. Let's bring them to Montreal. Let's bring them to the factory. Let's actually get them to know the team, and let's do the deep due diligence. So it's a huge process, but this starts with building out loud, similar to Elon Musk, and then go build a friendship first after that, and then start inevitably then bringing them to the team and executing. It's a process. If you follow that, I can guarantee you, and as long as you have a good business, that you have a great chance of raising the amount of money you want and from the people you want.
I love that. It's almost like you've created choice for yourself, right? As opposed to you relying on, okay, which one person's going to listen to us? You've created that choice. There's options. An entrepreneur we work with, venture capitalist himself, Anthony Lacovera, he actually talks about that, where you should always be raising. You're not just going out a couple times to do these rounds. You're continuously building those relationships so that when you do need it, you already have the people in the door.
Always be campaigning. And I'm going to New York on Tuesday. It's a Sunday, right? It's a Saturday right now. I'm going Tuesday, okay? I'm going for 2.5 days. 25 funds I'm meeting with. We're not raising money though. So we're raising money in 13 months from today.
Right.
So I'm just starting the process to hang, meet, go to their office, get to know them, let them see who I am. I'm in shorts, glasses, funky character. You either like us or don't, right? And then I'll go back to my team and say, hey, these were the best crews in terms of vibe, energy, and people. Do you want to talk to them? And then I bring in the serious talk in the next 2-3 months, and it will go from there. But that's the strategy. You're right. Anthony said it great. Always be raising or always be campaigning, because you never know when you're going to need, and you never know when that relationship will kick in.
Exactly. I love that. That's an intense amount of meetings.
Oh no, it's disgusting. Like I might collapse.
2.5 days. It's like a meeting an hour or whatever.
No, but in New York, I'll be late because it's far, the city, and I'm reckless. Like the truth is, it starts at 7:30 and then it ends about 9 every day. And I'm injured. I can't walk. My knee hurts. I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna need icing, like treat like an athlete, you know?
Recovery in between those pitches for sure. Okay. So when it comes to legacy, all right, as we're getting towards the end here, I wanted to ask you about, you've been on speaking tours lately, and some of those are schools, which is awesome. I'm inspired by that. I wanted to know, what about speaking fires you up personally?
So yesterday I spoke twice, and tomorrow I speak. So that's why I'm in Toronto. But you know what fires me up is selling chocolate's great. Like I'm a diehard capitalist, good capitalist, like as I call it. But so that makes us some money, and it's great. But when I get to go and inspire one person, let's say it's 1 out of the 100 or 200 people that are in that room, I've made a real impact. I've actually had an impact rather than just selling a good tasting product that's good for you, right? And when that starts to get into numbers of you're doing that for hundreds of people, you're doing it for thousands, and you're inspiring, you're actually making a global footprint in the world. You're doing something that makes a difference. And for me, I found that that's what energizes me and gives me the energy to go continue to run the business and continue to have fun doing it. It gives me my passion. It fuels it. So yeah, I like to do these tours, whether it's college kids, it's elementary schools, high schools, conferences about entrepreneurship, about e-com, about marketing, raising money. Any piece of advice that I give to these people, and if they like me and if they feel more bold after leaving there, I've won. I've done my life mission. So that's why I do it. And I think it's also fun. It's like you get to like have mini fame too. It gets me on like TV and radio a lot. So like it kind of like I get to live a dream that I've always had.
Oh, I love that. How do you balance between, obviously you're the one that's doing the speaking tours, and you have, 2 other partners in the business as well. So how did you become the face of it? You spoke about it earlier, how you pitched this vision of being a media brand.
Yeah. Well, their strengths are different than my strengths. And I think that's why we're partners, is my partners love operations, and they built the manufacturing plant. They built this business. I did nothing to do to build the actual business. I could assure you I'm a horrible manager. I'm a horrible operator. What I'm good at is being out there with physical and people. That's where I feel like I thrive. So my partners love when I do it because I'm groundworking building the brand at the level of human to human, right? Our team does a great job online and media driven and getting the story out there. But when you reinforce that with physical feelings, people freak out, right? So my partners are like, yeah, go do that. Go bang it out. Go wild. And we trust you. And I trust them to make sure that the business will be still running when I get back from my tours. And they thank me because a lot of the time I'll go meet those investors, and guess what? It makes their fundraising journey a lot easier because someone already did the hard work. Now they just got to close the deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, they do a bit of it. My sister doesn't love it as much. My brother-in-law is doing a lot more now. He likes a lot more about data, software, and operational aspects. And people respect that. That's a whole other niche. So the both of us going out there, we're building fans in different categories, right? I'm an energy bunny, and people love that energy. He's a software engineer, nerdy guy, that people love that aspect and learn from that. So we're kind of attacking this huge space from different angles, and it's building fans to midday squares.
What's great though still is that, yes, you're the face of it doing these gigs and you're doing speaking tours, but we also get to see behind the scenes, and on your Midday Squares account, we often get to see, the two of them sharing their own individual stories. I love when they kind of lead their own videos about that. Sometimes they get super personal, right, about their relationship, which is epic. But were they always, like, if you weren't in the business, would they have been on camera? Would they be front facing?
I don't think so. They're very good operators, and now they're very comfortable on camera. Yeah. They love it.
They have to.
They absolutely freak for it. Especially my sister. But no, they wouldn't have. They're very driven by building a business from a back end standpoint, and camera wasn't a thing that they really believe in. Even when I first pitched it, they were like weirded out by the idea. They're like, this isn't really something that we believe is going to work, but we'll give it a chance. And that's what I respect about them. They're open-minded and they're great entrepreneurs. And guess what? 4.5 years later, they're on the camera almost every day. So yeah, I think that, and I wouldn't have had a business because I don't know how to operate. So I'm grateful for that opportunity that they've given me. And I've kind of brought them out of their shell a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, because we actually meet with clients who know they want to do some content, but they're like totally not on camera, front facing people, right? And I think if they can see that it's not everyone is, but eventually you can work up to it and you see the benefits of it, it makes the investment worthwhile.
Yep.
Right? Okay. If today was your last interview that you were doing, the last talk, last interview, what's one message that you would want to leave behind?
Don't be scared to share your story. You might not find it interesting. And the only reason why you might not find it interesting is because you live it 24/7. Doesn't mean somebody else lives that 24/7. People don't know your story. Don't worry about the judgment and all that shit. When you share your story, someone out there will find it interesting. And it only takes one person for some magic to happen. That's it.
Nice.
I like to throw one in just to have some fun with it. Let's say I took it all away and all you possessed at the end of the day was the knowledge and the relationships that you've built. So no money, no resources. And I gave you 1 year to get $1 million back. How would you spend your time?
Oh, that's good. That's a great question. So I would, I think I would go out there and tell the story for other people. I would go out to brands and say, brands that have great products, and I'd say, hey, let me come in and do the exact same thing I just did for this brand and help you guys get out there more. Because the more they get out there, the more revenue that brings in, the more brand it builds. So the more rewarded I'll get to be paid. And I would do it for multiple companies because I know how to encourage someone to be a little bit more bold. That's my superpower. So if I could help some of those companies, like you were just talking about, create the content that you're talking about, it's just sometimes a push. That's all it is. And they need that push from somebody that's been through it, done it, and has seen that, the value of it. So I think that's what I would do while still speaking all over the place.
Just before we wrap, I want to make sure we ask, like, is there anything, anybody who might be listening, we can get them excited about? Any new stuff, any new projects on the horizon? Maybe you could tease.
We don't have a new, our cookie dough is rolling out across still Canada and United States. So it's a brand new flavor and it's crushing it where it is at. But yeah, we take our time on product development. We're also short staffed to a certain extent. And we have some other really cool flavors in the books that we're going to be working on. Don't want to reveal them yet. Got to be a secret. But we became the #1 selling bar in the US, which was super exciting in our category over the last 24 weeks, which is super cool news.
Wow.
Congrats.
That's huge.
Wow.
Congrats on your success. Thanks for spending time with us, squeezing us in between all your speaking gigs and other events while you're in Toronto. It was awesome to have you.
Dude, appreciate both of you for giving me this opportunity, and love the studio. It's hot. It's heavy in here. The lights are sexy. And if you're going to listen to this podcast, make sure to go be your fucking self. Stop being somebody else and have fun.
Love it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right.